blame vegans for the anti-vegan backlash. This is for The Spectator by Chaz Nuki Burden. This is a response to a Daily Telegraph article talking about the anti-vegan backlash. Anti-vegan backlash has made Britain fall back in love with meat. This person, who is vegan, says that it's our fault. As a vegan myself, I've noticed that this ethically rooted movement has begun to focus too much on money and not enough on morality. I've lost count of the number of times I've seen vegans try to convince people to go plant-based by telling them about all the fake meats, plant milks, and dairy-free cheeses they can buy these days, rather than helping them to make the philosophical shift that's necessary to take up this cruelty-free lifestyle. So they're saying the most effective way to get people to go vegan, and I presume actually stay vegan, is by talking about the ethics of veganism, talking about the animals, talking about not just food, but clothing. It's not just putting oat milk in your morning coffee and saying no to bacon. It's also avoiding leather, wool, cruel sports, and anything else that's tied up with animal cruelty. You won't get someone to adopt that philosophy and way of living by appealing to their tummy. You can only do it by speaking to their heart. Evidence, please? I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but it's an empirical claim, right? He's claiming that people will go and stay vegan if we focus on ethics instead of the foods that are available or health or something, I guess. That sort of thing can actually be tested. And it has been tested or studied. The nonprofit Phonalytics has done a lot of work trying to figure out why people stay vegan or don't stay vegan, go back to eating animal products, and how we can convince them to give them up again. With motivation coming up quite frequently as a requirement to resume a vegan or vegetarian diet, advocates should work on providing sources of motivation to new and returning vegans and vegetarians to help them stay focused on their goals, whether those be health-related, environmental, or for animal welfare. In other words, it can't be a one-size-fits-all approach. Some people are just not going to respond by speaking to their heart. In addition, Phonalytics found lapsed vegans and vegetarians struggled with access to vegan food, satisfaction, although this was less of a problem in their later report, presumably given improved plant alternatives, and also cost, suggesting new vegans want to eat the processed plant alternatives, Beyond Meat and whatnot, which are pretty much always more expensive than animal products, certainly more expensive than whole plants. Social struggles were also an issue and tended to occur in tandem with other issues like accessibility. More often than not, individual requirements to readopt a vegan diet are complex and include a combination of different needs that must be met. Now, I'm not saying Phonalytics' work is the end of the story. For one thing, they're looking at lapsed or ex-vegans and vegetarians specifically. Maybe this group is meaningfully different from those who haven't yet tried to reduce their animal product consumption. But my point is that it's really important to engage with the evidence we have before making authoritative statements like this. And too few activists seem willing to do that. In other words, if you encourage people to try meat-free burgers and plant-based cheeses, you might get a few to try vegan, but you won't get them to stay vegan unless you also help them think honestly about animal cruelty. So I think a big, obvious counter to this would be all of the ex-vegans we've seen who apparently were ethical vegans. They talked about the animals. They were vegan for the animals, and they did not stay vegan. Unless you want to be one of those vegans who says, oh, they were never really vegan, you need to acknowledge that the moral argument isn't always enough. I would say it usually is not enough to keep people vegan.
It's not that people who become vegan for the animals never stop being vegan. They do. And to just dismiss them, well, they were never really vegan, is to put our heads in the sand and avoid looking at what's painful but true. That good people make harmful choices, that you can be ethical and willfully blind, that you can be compassionate in one area and misguided in another.
I would love if we could just tell people and show them what's going on, how awful these animals' lives are, and they would go, all right, no more meat, no more cheese, no more butter for me. That would be awesome. But it's just not the way it works. It's too easy for people to continue to do what they're doing because it's so normal. And normal does not mean good. It just means this is the way it is for the vast majority of people. The vast majority of people eat animal products several times a day, and they see no issue with doing that. They have a bigger issue with people not doing that. Do you want to be weird or do you want to be normal like all of your family and friends? Tell people about the atrocities of animal agriculture, absolutely, but don't expect anyone to maintain that level of care, enthusiasm in the long term. It's very rare, at least for now. People will move on. They will stop caring for various reasons. Relying on food seems a risky tactic anyway. Vegan meats and cheeses are becoming tastier all the time. Some of them are now basically indistinguishable from the real thing. Where? I just had a meat that is the closest by far to meat that I have had, and it is still obviously not meat. Or at least I think they are. Vegans are the least equipped to make that call because it's so long since most of us ate meat or cheese. Even that, like that's such an assumption. You're saying that most vegans are long-term vegans? Is that true? I don't know. I think a lot of vegans have had meat fairly recently, like within the last year, 2 years. I haven't eaten meat for 10 years and I've not had dairy since 2016. So who am I to say how much these vegan products taste like the ones they're impersonating? That is a fair comment. And I remember a vegan, I don't know if they're still vegan or even like still on YouTube or anything, but I remember they made a comparison video. I think it was mayonnaise. They were comparing just mayo. Is that what it was called? It's been so long. Just Egg, the Just Egg brand, but it was just mayo, right? Which I think is in stores again. I have not seen it in Kroger, but they were comparing that to, I think maybe some other brands or a couple other brands and to like actual egg mayo. And some people got really upset with them, for purchasing that. Their argument was like, look, the only way I'm really going to compare these is to try them side by side, right? Like, I think that's a fair argument, but, people can disagree on that. But yeah, I get what he's saying here. If you've been vegan for a really long time, maybe don't be super gung-ho about it to people who are like currently eating meat. Like, this tastes just like meat. Like, does it? But for me, like I remember just random things. What was I telling partner? We were talking about pizza and he wanted me to make some pizza rolls because we saw it on Only Murders in the Building. And he was like, that sounds delicious. And I was like, oh, pizza, anything other than pizza, tasting like pizza is just so disgusting to me. Like, I don't know what it is, but like pizza flavored things, even like a pizza roll, which is not really the same thing. It just sounds so disgusting to me. And then I was thinking about, oh my God, you remember those little things? And they had the pizza flavored ones. It was the combos. I don't even know if I ever ate one of those, but the smell, I will never forget that smell. Why? Why do I still remember that? The smell of the White Castle burgers that my brother would eat. I think it was from Costco, like a big box from Costco, and he would put them in the microwave. I will never forget that smell. The smell of the donuts, frozen donuts we would get at Costco. Delicious, that you put in the microwave. The smell of those, I will never forget. Maybe that's super taster stuff, just being really overly sensitive to smells and tastes and stuff. But I remember the taste of beef, and none of the vegan beefs I've tried have that taste. The taste of dairy, like no plant milks have that taste. No cheeses have that taste. Over the past 15 years, people have stopped talking about animal rights and they've started talking about veganism instead. The conversation has shifted from the animals to people who don't eat them. I'm not really sure what he means by that. There are still lots of people who talk extensively about animal rights. If he doesn't like that people are talking about the practical aspects of being vegan, like how to eat vegan, that seems like a weird criticism, because if we want people to go and stay vegan, they need to know like how to eat correctly, right? How to eat a balanced, healthy vegan diet, especially given the context of like low fat, high carb vegan and like freely raw vegan, people thinking they didn't need to supplement for B12. The movement around those people has become less concerned with ethics and more obsessed with consumerism. While animal sanctuaries, charities, and pressure groups struggle for support, vegans queue up to buy the latest plant-based gimmick at chains whose bosses' hands are red with the blood of cows, sheep, pigs, and chickens. So this is just like a fundamental difference in opinion I think we have regarding advocacy. I would say it is really important for the animals to buy a plant-based alternative, to send that market message that we want these products. Supporting bosses whose hands are red with blood. I mean, everywhere you shop, that's the case, right? I mean, you shop at a grocery store, Do they only sell vegan food? How far do you really want to take that? And I would argue buying plant-based things and promoting plant-based things is more important than some vegan charities, right? There are some that don't seem to be particularly effective. There are sanctuaries that I would argue, as lovely and nice as they are, maybe not the best way to spend your money. I would think giving money to organizations that are trying to put the message out there and trying to influence people is a better, more effective use of that money than giving it to a sanctuary that takes care of like a few animals. We've celebrated the fact that supermarkets offer more vegan options, but we don't think so much about the fact that more animals are being slaughtered every year. The vegan revolution has been great for vegans, but it hasn't been so good for the animals so far. That's kind of offensive to me. Like, it implies that most of us are just concerned with, whether we have vegan options or not. We're not actually concerned about the animals, but that's just not true. A lot of us know and talk about the number of animals being slaughtered. Often we want to focus on the positive instead. So, I just did my vegan news video, and of course I highlight the farm animal newsletter, the 10 wins for farm animals that he does at the end of every year. I think it's important for us to acknowledge and celebrate those wins. To suggest that veganism is not having any effect on the number of animals slaughtered, number one, it's a long game, right? This is not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen in the next few years. We're not going to see, a huge adoption of veganism for a long time. Veganism is still fringe. It is not mainstream, not even close. But I don't think you can blame our lack of influence on the number of animals being slaughtered. There are a lot of other factors at play here, whether we're talking globally or even in the US. All we can do is continue doing what we know is right. If we're interested in advocacy, obviously you don't have to be if you're vegan or vegetarian, but if you are, to keep trying to positively influence people and celebrate the wins. I don't think it's good for our psyche or for our advocacy to focus on the number of animals killed each year. Burnout is a thing, and I think really honing in on the wins, on the positives, is a way to help avoid that. I'm not sure that veganism is as doomed as the headline writers would have us believe. I think the fall in sales of fake meats is because the cost of living crisis has encouraged vegans to cook delicious plant-based meals from scratch rather than buying expensive processed foods. It's sad that vegan restaurants are shutting their doors, but that probably reflects that plant-based options are now mainstream. Why? Why do you think that reflects that? Why probably? And also, it's not about vegans. Like, the fall in sales of fake meats is because the cost of living crisis has encouraged vegans to start cooking from home. Do you think we support these companies exclusively? Most of the people buying Beyond Meat are not vegan. I think it's those people not buying the foods anymore. That's the problem. That's the concern. But yeah, he's right. Cost could be, probably is, one of the factors. This is a good time for vegans to remind ourselves that we won't get people to open their hearts and radically alter their lifestyles by bragging to them about how many vegan sausages there are, or by insisting that vegan cheddars taste just like the real thing. Doing so is like trying to convince someone to believe in God by telling them the pews at the local church are rather comfortable these days. Fair enough, especially when alternatives are not like the real things. They're maybe kind of close or even really close, but they're really not comparable yet, and they're more expensive. Yeah, you're going to need a little bit more than, hey, we have vegan cheeses, right? But that doesn't mean any moral arguments are going to reach them, are going to reach the person you're talking to. I mean, maybe talking about the environment would be more effective. Public health, zoonotic diseases, antibiotic resistance. Certainly, I've argued against promoting personal health as a or the reason to go vegan, but that doesn't mean an ethical case is going to be super effective. Again, we see so many ethical vegans not last. I personally think it's just too easy not to be vegan. Thank you for watching, guys. I hope you enjoyed this little video, and leave a like, subscribe. Thank you so much to my members here on YouTube and my patrons at patreon.com/unnaturalvegan. I do post 2 exclusive videos for tier 2 members and patrons. I post a vlog and a controversial, and new video soon.